Welcome to the Erasmus Foundation podcast. My name is Paul Nugent. Are you looking for answers to life and its meaning? Then this may well be the very podcast you need to listen to. In a series of podcasts, we are going to look at the difficult questions of life and apply spiritual knowledge to find out the answers. Hello. Today, the subject we're going to discuss is living life to the full. And today we have three people with me. That's Julia, Hedley, and Corinne. And I'm going to ask Hedley, first of all, what he feels about this subject and what he would like to say.
Hello, Paul. Hi. Yes, this does mean quite a bit to me because I see this as a difference between having a positive or a negative attitude towards life. And living life to the full means really, I believe, having an acceptance of what life offers you, what happens, what trials and difficulties we face in life, because, first of all, we are here for a reason, a purpose, and we have all these things thrown at us at times to challenge us, to test us, and I think it should be that we take a positive attitude to these things and try and meet the challenge or overcome any difficulties we face in a positive way, knowing full well that there is good purpose and meaning then in all that occurs to us.
That's a nice beginning. Julia, would you like to add to that? Or
Yes, hello, Paul. Thinking about it, my personal thoughts were that I would embrace my life, and any life should be embraced as a unique gift from the great mind. The life has been designed by the great mind for us as a spirit. So I think this is something important to remember. And I think that as you go through the life, the important thing is to try and get to know yourself well, as has been mentioned before. And as we do get an understanding of ourselves, I think we can use this to really get the best out of life. As we get to know what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, we can then perhaps work through these, because obviously the life is for a reason, as Hedley has said. As a spirit, we have certain qualities, certain strengths and weaknesses, which are obviously meant for us at this particular time in our evolution as a spirit. So we are going to come across difficulties. So the more we know ourselves, the better equipped we are to go through these tests and challenges and to enjoy the achievements we make. So I think to spirit, the endeavour is very important. And it is difficult at this time on the earth to know ourselves, but I really do think that is key, truth about ourselves. And as we start to uncover truth, then we should use it to take ourselves forward. And I do agree with Hedley about the positivity. I think whatever we are going through, it is the most helpful way of thinking to be positive and to try and understand that life is a balance. We are going to have tough times and good times. And the important thing is to make the best of what we've been given by the great mind. And in that way, I feel we are living life to the full, and we will perhaps in time discover what our purpose is.
That's very nice. Thank you, Julia. And Corinne, what's your take on the subject?
Hello, Paul. Well, I completely agree with Hedley and with Julia. There must be acceptance of the life that is offered to us. And it is important, of course, to be positive with what life presents to us. As a spirit, we have chosen this tapestry, which is made for us. So it is unique, and we have a sense of individuality. It is our own tapestry, and we should try to make the best we can, living through the experiences it offers to us. And it is in this acceptance, as Julia has said, it is important to accept our qualities as well as our bad qualities or flaws, and to find our true self and to accept us as we truly are. As it has been said, truth is very important, and I am an individual. Sometimes people can see someone else who has a quality, and perhaps they have envy. They would like to copy this person. They would like to have for their own self this quality. But it is certainly a mistake, because we are made as we ought to be according to our level of evolution, and according certainly to our personal individual needs. Therefore, to live life fully, I am believing that it is important to accept oneself as an individual, and not to try to pretend or to try to be someone else. Unfortunately, it could be a waste of energy and time. And for me as well, to live life to the full, it can be important to live in the present. What is done, what is the past, is behind, it is done. So whatever I might have done or said that perhaps I regret, it is important to leave these things behind and just concentrate of now, on today. What can I do today to make the best of this day? What is this day presenting to me that I can do something to help others or to learn by my own self? And also, talking about living in the present, it is not necessary to worry for the future, because really the future, we do not know what it is made of. And this tapestry has been made for me by the great mind, and the great mind would not send to me a test that I should not be able to go through. So for me, for living life to the full, it is important to be in the present.
Okay, thank you. That's great. There's an awful lot that we've said already by all three of you. So what we're saying really, isn't it, is the fact we're not talking about making sure that in our life we go skydiving, that we land on the moon, or we learn to read in all different languages. It's not about the quantity of things that we cram into our lives. It is enjoying and applying ourselves to each and everything we do, including the bad parts of our lives, the tests that we are put through in order for us to learn. Is that correct, Hedley? Would you think in that way?
Yes, indeed. I was thinking as Corinne spoke, there's a saying we had been given here a little while ago, which said that the past is done, the present is your choice, and the future is prepared for you. So if you have an acceptance that when things happen to you, they don't always happen by chance. There is no such thing as coincidence. That is only a word man uses to explains something he does not understand and calls it therefore coincidence. But there is a pattern to life. There is an order throughout the whole universe, and we are part of that plan and that order. But following that, I also wanted to say something else I learned here at the Erasmus Foundation some years ago, and that was when we go through life, we might be sportive, we might be creative, whatever it is, trying to make a business work. And time again, we fail. We don't meet what we expect to achieve. And we see this as a failure for so long. But in life, it cannot always be failure. There has to be some success for the balance, always the balance. And I think that is something which we should remind ourselves. When we fall down and things don't work out, we should perhaps adopt the attitude, okay, that's today's problem we face. Tomorrow, there'll be another day, and the dawn and the light will shine. So I think it's important to maintain that positivity.
Okay, now that's interesting, because in life, of course, life isn't easy, is it, for any of us? There's always difficult times and hardships that we have to go through. But as Spirit has said to us many times, it's not the actual success that means very much. It's the endeavor that we take part in this test and attempt to do the best we can with it. So endeavor, Julia, very important, is it not?
I think it's key, actually, and I do know that it is a very important aspect in Spirit's view. I think whether we succeed or fail, as has been mentioned, isn't really important. We're here to learn, and very often we learn a lot more through failure. The important thing is to keep endeavoring, and sometimes it takes a little time and endeavor and a little bit of soul searching, and most importantly, looking at the truth and trying to understand the truth, and maybe changing course, having a different viewpoint and moving forward. But all the time, endeavor, that is very important. And I think it does take you forward. Perhaps in the early days when we're getting to know ourselves, a lot of our effort and time and thought is working on ourselves. And that is important. But I think as you do get to know yourself, you then find a little bit more time and space to think about other people. And I do feel it is important. We're all here on the earth together. We're part of a collective tapestry. And one thing I'm not sure has been mentioned is the mirror image. We are all a mirror image of each other. So I think a part of our life is how we react and how we feel about others, and what we can perhaps teach and learn from each other. And I think that will go a great deal to fulfilling our life. And as Corinne has said, we shouldn't be trying to be like another person. We should be finding some contentment in our own individuality and what we have to learn in this life. But meeting people is a key way of learning about ourselves and about others. So it's endeavor all the way, I think, in whatever our day brings.
And Corinne, it's quite interesting in our life, of course, we do go through very dark periods, don't we? We've all done it. We've all been there. And do you find that your belief helps you through these dark periods now?
Oh, yes, really, certainly, very much, Paul. Our beliefs, and thanks for all what I can have been learning at the Erasmus Foundation, has helped me a very great deal. I have had an illness, a cancer, And I have gone through a little difficult time with this illness. And thanks for the teachings, I knew first that pain does not last forever. So it helps to accept it, because knowing that pain is refining and that it is in fact a gift offered by the great mind to help us to grow spiritually. Therefore, one can really accept it. And in accepting, really the pain is relieved a little, and it really helps to go through that difficult time. So this is really, the teachings are really helping. Now, it can be something else than an illness. Everybody has lost someone who is dear, who has died from the earth, who has returned home. And of course, with the teachings, we know that they are back home, they are happy to be there, they had finished their tapestry, they are home and dry, as we say, and after a little time of sadness, because they are not with us anymore, we can be happy for them. So really, yes, the teaching really helped during the difficult times of life. And sometimes someone can perhaps lose their job or things like that. And again, uh, no one knows what is behind the next curve in life. So with the teachings, it really helps. Now, of course, today I must mention the pandemic and the climatic change. And that is for everybody today a very hard time to live. And yes, the teachings are really helping us first to understand why this is happening and what is the meaning of all this. And this as well is helping us to live and to go through this difficult time. And may I say that all of us in this foundation, we are hoping to share our knowledge and all what we have been learning, we are hoping to share with others to help them as well to go through the difficult time.
Thank you, Corinne. That's lovely.
Of course, there are difficulties everybody faces in life. This is all part of life. This is all why we're here. But more than anything, if it is possible, we are expected to enjoy life and to live life to the full. That is all part of the enjoyment and really the joy of living and being here on the earth. But there are times when a particular period in a person's life is going to be very difficult, challenging. And I know in my own experiences, when these things have happened, it's changed me a lot. It's made me grow. I have become stronger as a result of this. And at the time, what seemed an absolute disaster, a catastrophe, following this, years later, I've looked back, seen a purpose and a reason for these things, and how much I gained from that, what I thought at the time was an awful experience. But I can look back later and say, I'm grateful for what I went through because it has given me so much understanding and knowledge since. And it proved to me in a way how we are all here for a reason. So as much as we can, we should enjoy life and accept what is offered to us.
Thank you. And it is interesting, Julia, isn't it? Because we know that when we were at home before we took this life, we chose this life. We, as a spirit, we chose it because we knew at that point, looking at what we were about to endeavor and attempt with truth, that this was the right life for our progression. And yet, how many people, including myself, do you hear complaining about the difficulties that they have in this life? It's quite interesting.
Yes, it is. And I think probably all of us now who are in the foundation at the moment obviously accept what you've just said. We've chosen the life. And maybe a key thought would be, when you're on the earth, is to try and think as if you are back home, and to think of your life as being a necessary part and time of your evolution, where you've got to as a spirit, and trying to look at it in a more positive sense, as has been mentioned. So, I think it is important to try and keep as calm as you can in situations. It is difficult depending on what you're going through. But I think if you can accept that a life is going to have tests and challenges, and if you can at the time, or perhaps at a later time, accept that there perhaps is an opportunity or a benefit where you can perhaps learn from this, then I think that might help you during this testing time. And, if you learn and get stronger, then you're well set up for your next chapter in your life. So I think, as has been mentioned, a little acceptance, a little positivity goes a long way. And we also have the tools given to us to help us. So, for example, meditation might help us get us through a tricky period in our life. And another thing I feel is helpful, if you have problems, maybe do something for someone else. Think a little bit more about others and then come back to your problem. And that sometimes can help put it into perspective and give you the strength to move forward in the right way.
Thank you. And Corinne, about you, what would you like to say in response to all that you've heard so far?
Something we can do as well to live life to the full, perhaps, is to live life with eyes open. I mean, to be a little bit curious. Life is a journey on earth, and it is giving many opportunities. And I agree with Hedley. We should enjoy life. And personally, I really enjoy being in nature, being close with animals, and all this. The earth is really providing many opportunities to learn in many fields, and to help us to get closer perhaps to the natural law. And if we want to look, if we choose to look, we may discover many things, and we may learn a lot about others and about ourselves. And really, when we, at the end of this lifespan, when we return home, we might have gathered quite a lot of understanding. So the earth is also, in a way, as a playground where we might go and discover things. And it does not need to go far from where you live, but just, walking in nature, there is a lot to discover, really. And just a little word I would like to add, perhaps, is to allow the pace of life.
Okay. Thank you, Corinne. Okay, so we're coming to the end of today's podcast. So I'm going to ask you all the same question. And this is basically, what do you hope for? When you return home, we all know that there isn't a judgment. No one's going to judge us for what we have done. But of course, in a way, we will be judging ourselves. not in a negative way, but just to see how well we've done, in so much that whether we've applied ourselves correctly during our lives. So what would you say to that, Hedley?
I would quote something I read from one of Joan Grant's books, and I always enjoyed reading her books very much. A lot of wisdom in them. And she said, before you die, you might ask yourself the question, who was happy you were born?
I like that. Yes. Julia?
Well, I think obviously when you're at home, you've returned home, you don't have the physical trappings, if you like, you'd be thinking a little differently. So I'm not sure whether what I'm going to say would be the same as when I get home. I know I will be happy to be home. And I suppose I would hope that I've done the best I can, that I have endeavoured, as we've touched on in the podcast. And I really feel that is so important. And really, that's all we can do. And all I believe the great mind asks of us, to do the best we can and to keep endeavouring, no matter what the results of our endeavours.
And finally, Corinne.
Well, yes, I agree with Julia. In fact, the great mind is very patient with us regarding our spiritual evolution. I am hoping when I return home that the great mind will be happy with what I have tried to do during this lifetime. And I am hoping to be tolerant with myself.
Okay. Well, I've got to say thank you very much indeed, all three of you. It's been really interesting talking to you, and speak to you again soon. The Erasmus Foundation is a spiritual teaching and healing foundation based in Laxfield, Suffolk, in the United Kingdom. We have a webpage, www.erasmus-foundation.org. If you would like to be a guest on our podcast, or indeed have further questions for us, then please contact me on paul@erasmus-foundation.org, and we'll do our best to accommodate you. Thank you very much for listening.